Today we're covering a Facebook fan suggested article regarding the rise of non-religious numbers in Ireland. The article discusses how the no religion checkbox has gone up 45% in the Irish census.
That is a huge percent.
It is quite nice. It's 270,000 people that ticked the no religion box, which is up 45% from the last census. That is 6% of their population, which is the second largest religious group.
So they
right below Roman Catholic.
So these people specifically checked no religion. They didn't. Did they also have an option for atheist or agnostic?
So there is a other religion group that can write in atheist or agnostic, and apparently if you include those numbers, you get more close to 350,000.
Okay.
I kind of left that out for that exact reason because, you know, I don't want to assume because they actually add people who wrote in who did not answer at all, and so you know those people may be religious and not wanting to answer.
Right.
And so I didn't include those people as far as the numbers go because I want to make sure it is specific to the people who said no religion, actively checked it. As far as like you said, the people that checked the other and wrote in atheist, that has increased 320%.
Wow.
From 929 people to 3,905.
Right, and when you kind of take a consideration of how many of the people who actually check Roman Catholic are in fact not really believers, they're just sort of like on a societal level, they're Catholic. When you think of, they're kind of just culturally Catholic. They identify, their whole family is Catholic, everyone around them is Catholic, but they may have a sort of, I could take it or leave it kind of attitude. Well, it actually, I think, would give you a picture that Ireland is not as severely Catholic as perhaps the Catholic Church would like to believe.
Well, when you already have it being that 6% is somehow the second largest group in the census in Ireland, that's a pretty interesting sign.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to make assumptions for the Catholic numbers and whether or not they're firm believers or not. We've got the answers of people who are definitely not in their camp.
Sure.
And we've got 45% increase on no religion, 320% increase on atheist, 132% increase on agnostic, which is interesting too because the atheists are winning more people than the agnostics. So we're getting more people that are actually making a decision that, you know what, this is really not likely, as opposed to like, well, I still believe in that possibility that someone's going to come along and prove to me that there's a God. Not that that's not, you know, possible. You could still, I'm a hardcore atheist, you could still certainly prove to me that a God exists. I just need the evidence. I am more than willing to change based on proof.
Well, but the reason that I brought up the idea of that if we get into if you made the census questions more detailed, more specific, I think you would find that of the people who answered yes, I'm a Roman Catholic, if you broke it down and say, okay, do you go to church every Sunday? You know, what is do you just go on holidays? I think you would see, because I think it bears out in the United States in the same sort of a way. Most people, if you challenge them on the subject, will say, yeah, I'm some brand of Christian.
Right.
And I think that would probably apply here. You know, because most people don't actually go to church in the United States, even when they self-identify as Christians.
The article actually does discuss specifically that maybe the census should be more to include like the atheist and the agnostic options, as well as start it off with, do you practice a religion? Yes, no.
Right.
And then which religion do you practice? You know, but I also kind of think that that's unfair in that way. You know, we have that other video of ours discussing how describing yourself as an atheist could be really freeing. Whereas if you change the census data the way that they suggest, you would no longer see those atheist or agnostic numbers. You would just see a lot of people who don't practice a religion.
Right.
You know, and I think that's very different because identifying yourself as atheist versus agnostic does say something about where you stand, even slightly politically. I mean, not that there's actual hard set implications, but it is something that I think that terminology and that definition can be important.
Yeah, I think so. And I think actually it's probably the reason that on the census they put a category at all that said no religion, because sometimes, this is a discussion that we had with Ben, sometimes just using the word atheist to describe yourself can be hard, especially when, as you mentioned, the Catholic Church is the majority group, and the second group is 6%. So to, in a society, make the claim, I am an atheist, I reject the idea that gods exist, especially in that setting, you are really putting yourself into this tiny population.
That's true.
So I think
one of the
that's
larger minorities. We have that
right.
here.
But that's the idea of why they added the no religion category. Probably, I think it was really telling recently in Great Britain. Richard Dawkins, the Richard Dawkins Foundation, kind of sponsored the adding of a bunch of more specific questions to the census they did, and they asked people. They asked people questions like, "Are you a religious person? Okay, do you go to church? If you have a problem in your life, do you go to your religious text or to your religion as a place of finding answers?" And that actually came up with some really staggering results about how not Christian that country is. And so I would actually, that's why I'm thinking of it in regards to Ireland. I would really like to see a really detailed census of, do you go to church regularly? Yeah, okay, you consider yourself Roman Catholic. Why? Like, do you list the dogmas? Like, do you really think that people shouldn't use contraceptives and all that kind of stuff? Because as we saw in the United States, 98% of Catholics in the United States use or have used contraceptives. And so it becomes this, yes, they claim to be this thing, but how much do they actually line up with it? How invested are they actually in it? And so I would find that data coming out of Ireland really interesting.
The last thing I want to note on the problem with maybe there still should be some changes to the census, because the one problem with no religion is some people may still translate that as, I have no religion but I'm still spiritual. So no religion doesn't necessarily mean they do not believe in a God. So there's still some kind of inaccuracies there, which is why I would rather see the agnostic terms and things like that come into play, and because I don't want them to be like, well, do you go to church? No, and then, or yes, and then answer which church, because, and then if they say no, it's over, because then we don't capture, are you spiritual?
Right.
Are you atheist? Are you agnostic?
Well, and I think that's,
so I feel like you need to be
add those
careful
in
about
too,
how to change it.
Right.
So.
But I think that's why I would like it to be more specific, because you can add those. Okay, no religion. Do you believe in supernatural things? Do you believe in a higher power? You can flesh that out, and maybe that defeats the purpose of a census, because it's not, at that point, giving you a quick look at your population. It's giving you really detailed information about your population, and maybe people don't want to answer, they don't want to give that information out about themselves. I just think would be really interesting. I think if we had a better picture countrywide in the United States, or even planet-wide, I think that atheists and agnostic people, non-believing people, would see that they're in fact not as isolated as they feel.
Yeah, I certainly don't feel isolated anymore. I find too many of our numbers increasing. We're the largest minority in America now, so we're on the rise.
Right, and I know that I've heard, if you count atheism as a religion, it's the fastest growing religion in the country.
Absolutely.
So